Hi everyone, welcome to today's video. We're gonna sit down and play with some Doll 10 products. I have heard about this brand for so long. I used to watch QVC pretty religiously, and I remember seeing them when they did their beauty night features, or just when they had a special for today's special value where it was Doll 10, and I always thought to myself, hey, I should try that brand out someday, and that someday is here. I did order some products to try out and see what the formulas are like and see why people love this product. So I will say that this purchase was influenced by others over on TikTok. I've seen several different creators share their thoughts and opinions about the brand, and the overall consensus is that it is a positive review. People are liking these products, and I thought maybe I should try them because I've remembered this brand from QVC, and I think you still can purchase their products on there. Of course, you can buy directly from their website. If you do have TikTok, you can also order over on TikTok Shop. So I picked a couple things that I was most interested in trying, and I want to put together some products to do a full face look. So let's go ahead and jump in. I don't have a full face of Doll 10 today, so we'll kind of sub in some extra products, but let's go ahead and get started. So before I get into applying the products, I want to share with you what I actually ordered and show you some up close shots of the products and kind of talk you through each product itself. The first product is a foundation. It's the TCE Foundation, and I pulled this up on my phone so I can tell you the TCE Super Coverage Serum Makeup with Peptides. And TCE stands for This Covers Everything. So that in and of itself should tell me that this is going to be a full coverage foundation. And yes, this bottle does look quite light and not an adequate match. You'd be right, because I ordered the shade Fair Light. This is a shade that would typically match me year round. I didn't anticipate getting this dark this summer. I typically don't get nowhere near this dark anyways. So I ordered this weeks ago, and I'm now getting around to trying it. So it's gonna be a little light, but we're gonna make it work. I can always adjust it with liquid bronzer, bronzing drops in the future, but I wanna try just solo today. And of course I'll put bronzer on top to make everything work, but I wanna see what this formula looks like without putting anything into it or mixing other products into it, so I don't change the formula on this. But this is the TCE Foundation. I also did pick up the TCE Concealer. This also includes peptides, so I do like how their foundation formulas, concealers, and honestly the makeup formulations include skincare benefits, so that's a bonus always for me. And yes, again, I picked a shade that would match me basically to my year-round shade, and that would be Fair Light. So we're gonna make this work, but we have the concealer to try out today. I also did pick up the Doll Skin Pink Brightening Powder. It's a treatment powder in the light pink shade, so that's what that looks like there. And the next product was actually quite interesting. This is the Doll Skin Warming Filter Powder. So this is supposed to be like a loose bronzer. I'm not sure how pigmented this is, but this is something I'm gonna use a lot today to make the foundation match my chest, neck, and arms. But this is a loose bronzing product. I was also very intrigued by their Peptide Bounce Balm, a tinted lip treatment, and I picked one shade. It comes in two shades. This one is Juicy Coconut, and I like the packaging, and it comes with a little applicator, like so, with a silicone tip there that you can use to apply the product or scoop it out, which I like because I don't like digging my nails into products. And this is what that color looks like. Really soft and natural looking. And I also like how there is a very tiny mirror on the inside, so you can actually put this on the go. Keep it in your purse, put it in your makeup bag, travel, whatnot. You can use this little gadget here. Open it up, you've got a mirror and an applicator, so it's a hands-free. You don't have to worry about having clean hands to put this on. So I like the whole product component in the packaging. And then finally, the last thing is a setting spray. This is the Doll Skin Genius Super Spray with hyaluronic acid. This has a hydrating formula, and the ingredients on the back, it says hyaluronic acid. It's got some mushroom extracts, coconut water, peptides, niacinamide, willow bark extracts. So lots of good things to boost the skin and hydrate, and I like the component. It's actually glass, which I didn't realize until I got this in the mail. And I thought, okay, that's a little bit elevated. Most times, if you get some type of setting spray, a lot of the times they're in either plastic, little components, or maybe like tin where it's aerosol, but this is actually a nice glass, and I like that soft blush pink color. Now let's go ahead and apply the foundation. Let me show you what the shade Fair Light looks like. And yes, I do know that this is not going to be the right shade. And maybe I should just go ahead and add some bronzing drops to this because there is no way I can make this work on its own. I went ahead and added liquid bronzer to the back of my hand and mixed it in. So that is a little bit better than where we started. I used the liquid bronzer from Natasha Denona. This is a new product that I recently talked about in a previous video. This is the High Sculpt liquid bronzer. And I love this formula. It is beautiful. So I added some of that to the foundation. And I think it might be a little bit better. I may need to add more bronzer in the future, but that I feel like is much better than it was. And I also did pick up some other brushes. So I have a double-ended brush, which looks really cool like that. This is the Doll 10 powder brush. And then I also have the airbrush concealer brush that we'll use with the concealer. But I think I want to use my sponge. So I'm going to use my Beauty Blender and see how much coverage I can get. All I have underneath this is my skincare. I went ahead and skipped out on actual primers today. So my skincare is my primer, and I feel like adding that bronzer really helped out quite a bit. And that is not the whole side completely blended, but look at how nice that looks and how much coverage that truly provided, even with a sponge, which is so impressive because sponges tend to eat up a lot of product and you don't get the full effect of your full coverage foundations as you would with a brush. So that to me is very impressive, and it blended out incredibly fast and evenly. I would just do this half and show you. Let's do a little bit on the forehead, and I'm just kind of bouncing my sponge into the back of my hand. I use my hand as a palette a lot of the times, so it just makes it a little bit easier. So like I said, I do have a tiny little blemish here and some freckles that are starting to come up because of all the sun exposure that I've had this summer. And it's kind of covering that a little bit, not as much as I would like it to, but honestly, I've been kind of into the whole natural freckles and I'm just gonna leave it. I'm not gonna try to cover that too much, but let's go ahead and go under the eyes as well, even though we do have concealer to try out, and take some down my neck. Here is my before. And here is my after. I feel like I should have been trying this a long time ago, if I'm being honest with you. So let me go ahead and do this other side with whatever was left on my hand. I am back now with the foundation fully blended on both sides. And I've got to say, I am very impressed with how this looks on the skin, how quickly this applied very evenly, how much coverage from the start. I didn't have to go back and rebuild certain areas. It definitely has that full coverage. And it says TCE, this covers everything. So it truly does, and that is very impressive. It looks really beautiful on the skin, even without a primer. It just looks more perfected, flawless, like there is a filter built into this foundation. And now I'm just wishing that I would have tried this sooner, wishing that I would have just tried this a long time ago when Doll 10 first came across QVC and HSN and all those online shopping networks. I should have just tried it because this looks incredible on the skin. It is absolutely beautiful. And I'm excited to continue trying that. So now we get to try the TCE Concealer. And I think for this, I am gonna do some sort of adjustment to the shade. Again, the shade that I ordered is Fair Light, and I will show you what this looks like. It does come with a pretty large doe foot applicator, as most concealers do on the market these days. This is the shade Fair Light. And so what I'm gonna do is work off of that swatch. I think I might go ahead and add just a pinch of this product from Natasha Denona, but I mean just a pinch. I'm gonna mix and then use the brush to apply. Let me show you what the brush looks like before I go into the concealer application. So this is what it looks like if you're looking at the brush head on, and it looks almost like a diamond shape, but when you turn it on its side, you can see that it's at an angle, and the bristles are a little bit shorter and taper a little longer. It is also a dual fiber brush, so the very tips of them are gonna be a little bit thinner, so it's gonna give you more of an airbrush look, which is why it's called an airbrush concealer. And I think the cut of it is really nice. The ferrule is nice, and the handle, I love that blush pink color, and it just feels quite nice when you're actually holding it. So I'm gonna pick up some of the concealer on the brush, and I'm gonna tap this into the innermost corner here, and I'm going to distribute that amount between both sides here. And I like using brushes. I feel like brushes definitely give you a more full coverage, but again, as we saw with the beauty sponge with the foundation, I was still able to get quite full coverage using it. So I think either way, a brush or a sponge, you're going to really enjoy this coverage if you like full coverage products. So I'm gonna blend this in. I feel like that angle is allowing me to get right in this innermost corner, and reach right in there, and then right in through here where the tear duct is, I feel like I can really get in there and blend nicely. You can go onto your lids around the brows if you wanted to clean up after doing your brow products. You can take this and go around the nose. You could even use this to blend in your nose contour if you like that, or apply contour to that precise area because of the shape and size of this brush. So there's a lot of things you can do with it. Even though it's marketed as a concealer brush, think about other ways you can use your brushes so that your investment goes a little bit further. From here, we're gonna go into the Pink Powder Brightening Treatment Powder that looks like this. And I have not tried this product. It still has the seal on it, so I'm gonna take the seal off. And what I typically like to use is a powder puff for my loose powders, setting powders. So I'm gonna do the same thing for today's video. And here's a closer look at that powder there. It is quite pink and very brightening. It has a little mesh trampoline in there that you can kind of bounce your puff sponge or your brushes and pick up some product. I'm gonna use that to set my concealer, but I'm gonna push in some of that powder into the puff. It's like a little dusting here, a little cloud. And then I'm gonna go right in to the under eye area and set that. Get a little bit more right in through here. And I'm only gonna do one side so that we can see the difference and actually compare. So this is the side that I use the setting powder under the eyes and right in through this zone here where I have larger pores, because I want that area to look softer, more diffused, a little bit more blurred, because I do have larger pores and that's an area of concern for me. I do put powder there, but it's optional for you. So you can see the difference between the under eye that's been set and no setting powder. Which side do you like best? And if I'm being completely honest, I don't really see a ton of brightening happening under this side where I did apply the powder. I don't know if it's because the concealer is just a little bit darker and it's kind of throwing me off, because I typically don't use concealers quite this dark to match this new tan that I've got going on. I'm so used to using very fair type of concealer colors and pink powders and having a very bright under eye. But this just looks very natural. There's nothing wrong with it at all. It does feel nice and soft. If you could feel my face right now, it feels incredibly soft, like a thin veil has just been placed right over my skin. It feels very, very nice. So again, all good things so far. I'm gonna do this side here as well so we can get on with the warming powder next. Now that the concealer and setting powder have both been applied, let's go ahead and go into that warming powder. I pulled up the website on my phone, and this warming powder has hyaluronic acid, vitamin C, phytocollagen, matcha extract, and caffeine extract. It does come in one shade, which can be a good or a bad thing depending on the tone, if it's what you're looking for. This is a close-up of the shade there, so you can see that. It is a warming filter powder that has an ultra blurring, weightless warming powder that creates an airbrushed finish while providing natural looking bronze. This silky loose powder is fortified with vitamin C, matcha extract, peptides, hyaluronic acid, niacinamide to temporarily help hydrate, smooth, and warm skin's appearance, which is basically what I said earlier about the ingredients. It's also sulfate-free, paraben-free, cruelty-free, doctor-developed, which Dr. Dalton is the creator of Dalton, and she is, I believe, a chiropractor, and she created this line, so that's pretty interesting. Now, the component on the inside, this is what the cap looks like. So here's an issue that could possibly be a problem for someone who is looking at loose powders. Typically what you do is you probably dip your brush into the component and then you do that kind of swirl into the cap, tapping off the excess. So I find that that's gonna be a little bit difficult to do because this cap has this kind of nub right here in the very center, which I know why that's there. That is there specifically to keep this powder from overflowing and making a mess. So it's kind of one of those things where you have to decide for yourself if that's a deal breaker for you. It really isn't for me because I've got other ways to make it work, but I like having that edge there to keep the powder from making a mess. Because if you look at a lot of other loose powders that have a sifter with a bunch of holes and just a cap, when you go to open that, it kind of flows everywhere. It gets out on the edge of the product component itself. It gets onto your counter, in your makeup bag, on your clothes. So having something that can help stop that from happening is great when this product is being stored or in a makeup bag. Think of those times where you travel and you want it to be more neat and clean. So there's a lot of advantages of having this type of component, but you are not able to really kind of swirl in there unless you don't mind this kind of smudging into the bristles of your brush. So that's something just to call out. Not a big deal, not a deal breaker for me. So I'm just going to continue on with the product, and I'm going to use the powder brush. Now this brush comes as a double-ended brush, so the one side here is going to be a little bit larger and fluffier for bronzer, for face powder, setting powders. The smaller side, which is on the opposite end, has the same type of bristles, but it is a little bit smaller, and it has a nice kind of rounded cut where the bristles on the side kind of taper as it comes to the center of the brush. So you can see there. And I like the two-tone of the dual fibers. Again, the very tip of these fibers almost feels kind of like a stippling brush, and you have a little bit more of a substantial material towards the base of the ferrule, which I do like. And this side would be great for blush. It would be nice to set under the eyes for bronzer, for powder contours. You can even use this to sweep some color across your lid. If you're not doing eyeshadows, you want to do a little bit of bronzer in your lids or contour the sides of your nose. You could use it for blush, highlighter, lots of things you can do. So it's two brushes. Basically it's one, but it's two different brushes, and it's all in one component, which makes it super easy for travel, for storing, for just on the go. I do like the style of this brush quite a bit. So I'm going to start applying this product around the forehead first, and we'll do just a little bit. I'm dipping in my brush into the product itself, and I'm just tapping off onto a paper towel that I have laid out on my vanity here, and I'm just going to use a little bit. This does have some pigment. It's not too sheer, but it's also not overly pigmented where it's intimidating for someone starting off with a loose bronzing type of powder. And I do feel that my forehead does look a little bit more warm and does look a little bit more bronzed than the rest of my face, and it looks really soft. It's light. It's almost like a gentle sheer wash of color, which I do like. And I'm just gonna do a little bit on the apples of the cheek and just kind of swirl this all over. And it's a light kind of warming powder where it just kind of gives you a hint of color. It's not gonna be a lot. And for this, I feel like I could honestly go a little bit more heavy-handed and it not look too crazy, and I'm not gonna look like it's muddy. It doesn't look too orange. It's a nice tone that adds warmth, but it's not an orangey type of warmth, if that makes sense. It's really, really pretty, and it's blending out so seamlessly onto the skin, right over their foundation. I'm gonna go for the nose and a little bit around the jawline, a little bit on the neck too. Why not? Why not make everything balanced and cohesive? And that was just the easiest thing to apply. I mean, it's honestly really nice. It looks so incredibly natural. And when I look up close, I don't even see where it looks like powder on the skin, and it feels very similar to the texture of that powder, almost like a thin, just ever so slight veil onto the skin that gives that illusion of soft looking skin, that filtered like skin, and it feels really beautiful. Like it's a very well made loose bronzing powder. And when I get up close, I don't see any shimmer either, and I can't tell. Looking at this, I don't think that there's any shimmer in that, which is great. Not a lot of people like bronzers with shimmers or any sort of glowy highlighter type of look to it, because it does emphasize fine lines, texture, pores. If you have oily skin, you typically want to lean towards the more matte formulas, and this is a really natural matte finish, but it looks very skin-like, and I like it very, very much. And since I did not order any blush products or eye products from Dalton, I'm gonna sub in a couple extra products for those steps of my routine. And I think I wanna go into a Laura Geller product. I love this brand as well. I have talked about this brand for many, many years, and I like their baked formulas. She does baked products very, very well. This is the Baked Blush and Bronze in the shade called Earthy Bronze. So it looks like that. She has the same formula, but now it looks like this, where before it was a bunch of swirls, which was very, very neat. If you go onto the website, you can see all of the photos of the product. And again, they're so incredibly beautiful to look at. I love the bronze look that this gives. So I'm gonna use a little bit of this with the Dalton brush, but I'm gonna use that smaller side. And I'm gonna kind of stick to this upper region here because it's swirled. As you can see, there's light pink, there's kind of like almost like a berry tone with a bit of sheen, and then some kind of bronzy type shades towards the bottom. Ideally, you wanna swirl everything together, but I'm going to just kind of stick to that top region and use some of this to add a little bit of color. And it looks so pretty. And again, this does have a little bit of shimmer because that kind of more berry tone right here does have a sheen to it, whereas the light pink is just look a little bit more of like a satiny type of finish. And this brush is doing a great job at applying it as blush. And I'm gonna go back over it with the fluffier side that I use for the bronzer just to help blend a little bit more. And again, these products are looking so beautiful on the skin, and this kind of earthy bronze shade from Laura Geller is also looking quite natural on the skin, and that is my base complexion for today. We're gonna go into this spray. This is the Doll Skin Genius Super Spray Hyaluronic Spray Serum. It's got a lot of great ingredients to hydrate the skin, and it's infused with skincare benefits, honestly, into this product. So let's go ahead and see what that mister is like. Ooh, yeah, that's really nice. So I do have to say that this mister is actually quite nice. It's a very thin spray, so you don't feel thick droplets of water just kind of hitting you in the face. You almost don't even feel it. It just kind of sprays very evenly and nicely over the entire face. I do like it, and I think the smell of it is quite pleasant. It smells kind of, honestly, like a spa, very calming, very soothing to the skin. So I'm a fan of this, and I feel like it's going to bring back a little bit of moisture and hydration to anyone that uses powder-based products. So if you use, let's say, powder foundation or a lot of maybe powder products, blushes, bronzers, highlight, you wanna kind of mesh those layers together, you may wanna get something that applies a very thin veil of hydration to the skin where it doesn't feel heavy, doesn't feel greasy. Someone with oily skin can probably get away with using this, even though it says it adds hydration and boosts the skin's hydration. It says on the back, intensely hydrating, but I don't feel it to be too heavy either. So it's actually a really nice formula. What do you think? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Let's try this tinted lip treatment from Doll 10. This is the shade called Juicy Coconut. I wanted to show you the texture, so I put the little applicator in the center and I kind of moved around the product so you can see what that looks like. Let me get it up close to the camera if it'll focus there. Do you see that texture? It is thick, it looks very nourishing. I have some, quite a bit honestly, on the applicator. I'm gonna use that applicator to apply. Oh yeah, that feels really nice. This applicator is so cute. And I do get, you know what? This smells like coconut. I know it's called Juicy Coconut, obviously, but it kind of smells like summer. It smells so, so good. It just gives you just a hint of color. It doesn't have a lot of pigment to it. And let me show you a swatch on the back of my hand so you can see when you apply this product, it just gives you that hydration and that comfort and nourishment to the lips, not so much color, and that is the lip treatment. So I'm back now with a very quick and simple eye look for today. I skipped eyeliner altogether and I ended up going in with one of the Laura Geller Baked Kisses 10 Pan Eyeshadow Palette. This, I believe, is a fairly new product for the brand. Wait until you see the inside. It is absolutely darling. This is what the inside looks like. So the palette has the eyeshadows, but they're in the shape of lips. Is that not the cutest thing? So what I did today is I took these lighter shades, this shade here, I took that into the crease. Then I used a little bit of this mixed into it on the lower lashes. And then this really pretty champagne pink color on the lids. Used my finger to apply. And that was pretty much it. And I did some mascara. The mascara that I'm using is from ABH. Everything, of course, will be linked for you down below. And now I need to put some lip products on. So I'm going to remove the Doll 10 product and go in with a Laura Geller lipstick. I did just recently order myself a new shade. These are the Italian Marble lipsticks. I have raved about these for so long. These are so slept on. I don't hear a lot of people talking about her lipsticks, but they are top tier, 10 out of 10. I love this formula. So the shade that I ordered is called Honey Bun, and this was one of the fewer shades that I did not have. Since I do own quite a few of them, Honey Bun was just not in my collection, and I felt like she needed to join me, so I went ahead and added this to my collection as well. Wait until you see what these look like. If you have not seen these are probably the prettiest lipsticks that you'll ever see. So first off, the cap, she did upgrade her packaging recently, and now it has a magnetic closure, which is very satisfying. So this is the shade called Honey Bun. And what makes these so special and so beautiful is how they looked swirled, and they give you that marble look to the lipstick, and each one looks different. And it is like I said, it's like a piece of art. Look at how beautiful this is. I will show you some up close shots. I saved this specifically for a video because I did not want to mess this up before showing it to you guys, but it is so beautiful the way they pour these lipsticks. It is just something really special. So let me do a swatch of the Honey Bun shade. So when you kind of apply these colors together, it looks really dark on one side there and a little bit light, like a peachy kind of pinky nude. But when you swirl these shades together, you get such a pretty, just everyday kind of mauve shade that I think is very flattering and beautiful. So what we need to do is take off some of this Doll 10 stuff off of our lips. And then I'm gonna go into this and show you what this looks like. And this is the shade called Honey Bun. Do you see how pretty this color is? And of course, the only thing that I would do differently is start off with a lip liner. But I wanted to show you how this looks. And you can see that the swatch there does look a little bit different. It's just based off of how you apply the product and how much of the darkness you actually get. But when you start kind of going back and forth, it does kind of lighten it a little bit. At least with mine, because mine has quite a bit of that peachy side to it, only just a little bit of the darker side on the opposite end of the lipstick bullet itself, but it is so pretty. So what I'm gonna do is actually pair this with a lip liner, and I'll be back to show you a full completed lip look. And here is that same lipstick now paired with a lip liner, and I chose to use one of my go-to shades. It's the Maybelline Lifter Liners in the shade called Line Leader. It is like My Lips But Better type of shade, and now that looks much more complete to me. And then here is the completed look for today. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. I am very pleased and happy with how everything turned out. I have nothing negative to say about anything that I use in today's video, which is always great to know that when you buy something, it turns out to really check off all your boxes and you end up happy at the end of it. So thank you so much for watching. Everything is gonna be listed and linked for you down below. If you've tried all 10 products before, let me know what your favorite products are. What are some of your go-tos? I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for being here and spending some of your day. Take care, you guys, and we'll talk soon.